November 24th, 1971, a Boeing 727 flies through a storm over Washington state. Inside, a man in a black suit grips a parachute. $200,000 are strapped to his chest. He looks into the roaring darkness and jumps. That man was never seen again. This is the legend of D.B. Cooper. Earlier that afternoon, Portland International Airport was crowded with Thanksgiving travelers. Among them, a quiet man in a dark suit approached the Northwest Orient ticket counter. He paid cash for a one-way ticket to Seattle. The name on the ticket was Dan Cooper. He carried a black briefcase. He sat in seat 18C and ordered a bourbon and soda. He was polite and calm. No one suspected that he was about to commit one of the boldest crimes in aviation history. Shortly after takeoff, Cooper handed a note to a flight attendant named Florence Schaffner. At first, she ignored it, thinking it was just a phone number. Then he leaned toward her and whispered, "Miss, you better read that note. I have a bomb." Inside his briefcase were red cylinders, wires, and a battery. Real or fake, it looked convincing. The hijacking of Flight 305 had begun. The crew told the captain. The pilot radioed Seattle. The FBI began an urgent negotiation. Cooper's demands were simple: $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck waiting in Seattle. While the plane circled for hours, passengers were told there was a mechanical delay. On the ground, agents scrambled to gather the money and the parachutes. Through it all, Cooper stayed calm. He smoked, drank his bourbon, and gave precise instructions. No anger, no panic, only control. At 5:45 p.m., the plane landed in Seattle. The passengers were released unharmed. In exchange, Cooper received his cash and the parachutes. He kept 4 crew members on board. He had everything he needed to disappear. He ordered the pilots to take off again. Destination, Mexico City. Altitude, 10,000 feet. Speed, 200 miles per hour. Landing gear down. Cabin unpressurized. At 8:13 that night, somewhere over the forests of southwestern Washington, the crew felt a sudden jolt. The tail dipped. Pressure changed. Cooper had opened the rear air stairs. Into the cold rain and pitch-black night, he jumped and vanished. The next morning, the FBI launched Operation Norjack, the Northwest hijacking. Hundreds of agents, soldiers, and volunteers searched the wilderness below the flight path. Helicopters swept the trees. Divers scoured the rivers. But no body, no parachute, and no briefcase were ever found. For years, the mystery consumed the nation. Who was this man who had defied gravity and the FBI? Then, in 1980, a young boy named Brian Ingram made a discovery on the Columbia River. Buried in the sand were $5,800 in decaying $20 bills. The serial numbers matched the ransom. It proved that some of the money had made it to the ground, but still there was no sign of Cooper. Over the decades, investigators chased more than 1,000 suspects. Richard Floyd McCoy, a former Green Beret who hijacked another plane in the same way. Dwayne Weber, who confessed on his deathbed. Kenneth Christensen, a quiet airline employee. Robert Rackstraw, a veteran with a shadowy past. Each one seemed close, but every lead fell apart. No one could be proven to be D.B. Cooper. In 2016, after 45 years, the FBI closed the case. They called it Unsolved. Half a century later, his name still echoes through American folklore. Some believe he died in the jump, lost to the storm. Others believe he escaped and lived quietly, watching his own story become legend. Whoever he was, D.B. Cooper became more than a man. He became a symbol of mystery, rebellion, and freedom. The man who outsmarted everyone and disappeared into the clouds. Maybe he perished that night. Maybe he lived to old age, smiling at the myth he created. But one thing is certain, D.B. Cooper didn't just vanish into thin air. He became a legend,